The Royal National Lifeboat Institution has, over the years, developed significantly. Response times have quickened, technology's improved, lifeboat stations have been constructed, and lives have been saved on countless occasions. It hasn't always operated as a saviour of the sea to the standard that it does today. We will be looking into how the Rnli has developed over previous years to minimise the loss of lives. We'll start in England, 9th of December 1886, when one of the Rnli's largest disasters occurred at the River Ribble's estuary near St Anne's-on-the-Sea in Lancashire. This disaster is referred to as the Mexico disaster. In 1886, lifeboats were nowhere near the technology-filled cabins that we see today. They were paddle-powered wooden boats with large crews of around 15 and a coxswain of the ship. While the lifeboats then did have the ability to self-right like modern boats are capable of, they're still very basic, with capsizing being a common issue throughout their use. We interviewed David Forshaw, the head lifeboat launcher at St Anne's Lifeboat Station, in which he explains what happened on the night of the Rnli's most tragic disaster, the night of the Mexico disaster.
Right, the Mexico disaster, the vessel was a German bark, 484 gross tons, which was a middle-sized ship in the 1880s. Not very large, but not a small one either. She sailed from Liverpool on the 5th of December and couldn't get out of the Irish Sea because of continuing gales. She was then forced back towards the mouth of the Ribble, and obviously no engines or anything, she couldn't get away, and it was obvious to the captain that she would eventually pile up on shore. His only way to hope to stop it was anchors out, cut away 2 of his masts, and hope that that would hold. But unfortunately, she didn't. She dragged on to the sandbanks in the Ribble, and when you're on the sandbanks in shallow water, ships and boats lifted up and they banged down on the seabed. She started to go down and she started to turn on her beam ends. That's on her side. There's nothing the crew could do. Their boats were carried away and such like. There's no way they could get off without outside help. There were 3 lifeboats then guarding the Ribble: the Lytham lifeboat, the St Anne's lifeboat, and the Southport lifeboat. All 3 saw the signals of distress. The Lytham lifeboat launched about 10 o'clock. They got to Mexico first of all, and they did what's called veering alongside. They dropped their anchor and worked their way back on the anchor cable, got alongside Mexico, rescued the 12 crew. They then pulled themselves back out to the anchor and sailed back to Lytham and landed the crew. The Southport boat had launched third. There was a bit of a delay in getting horses. Because of the weather, they had to go several miles along the shore so that they could launch in a position where they could get down to the Mexico. They couldn't launch straight by their boathouse because they were dead into the wind. So they got close to the Mexico. They were going to do the same as the Lytham boat had done. No radios, so they had no idea that the Lytham boat had already rescued the crew. They were just about to drop the anchor to veer down, and a large wave came and capsized the boat. Now these lifeboats are self-righting. The Southport boat didn't self-right. It's assumed because all the crew were clinging on, some underneath the boat, some on top of it. She came ashore and two men got off her, managed to struggle ashore, and one made it home and the second one was helped home by a passerby. The passerby raised the alarm and the search went out. Now, they found the Southport boat capsized on the beach. There was 3 men still alive, but with hypothermia.
Back in the 1880s, the understanding of medical conditions such as hypothermia was pretty poor, so their ability to deal with it was minimal. Death by hypothermia is why many sources state that only 2 survived the capsized Southport boat, even though there were actually a total of 3 survivors. Sadly, one of them died later in hospital that day.
Of the 16 crewmen that went out, 14 were lost, either through drowning or through, the Lytham boat, as I said, got back and dropped the rescue men off, and that was it. But the St Anne's boat, they didn't know where she was. They didn't even know that Lytham and Southport, that the St Anne's boat had been out at the time. The St Anne's boat had launched about 10:25 and nothing more was seen of her. The following morning, the St Anne's station telegraphed all around the other stations in the area to see if they'd seen anything of the St Anne's boat. They hadn't, so they asked the Lytham boat and the Blackpool boat to go out and search for St Anne's boat. Both boats went out. The Blackpool boat very nearly capsizing, the coxswain was washed overboard, but managed to get back on board, but it was very nearly another 13 lifeboatmen lost that day. They didn't find anything, but eventually the St Anne's boat was found upside down on St Anne's beach, and all 13 crew had been lost. So that was 27 men lost their lives trying to save the 12 from the German ship.
From the lifeboat in Lytham, the Charles Biggs, everybody survived, along with 12 rescued from the Mexico. From the Southport lifeboat, the Eliza Rnli, only the 3 survived the rescue mission. A total of 14 of the 16 crew members died in an attempt to rescue those on the Mexico. The St Anne's lifeboat, the Laura Janet, is believed to have capsized, similar to that of the Southport boat. Unfortunately, all 13 crew members were lost. Nowadays, equipment has advanced massively. Lifeboat crew attire is now modern, waterproof material with available life jackets, while previously they were mere cork jackets that hindered more than helped due to their excessive weight. The boats themselves have also received significant upgrades and can be considered quite substantial in both a positive and negative way. They are now high-tech cabins with a large amount of equipment, which helps them save lives. But unfortunately, this comes with a large price tag for the charity-based organisation. To get a new lifeboat, it will mean the Rnli have to spend about £3 million, and to get the necessary tractor to aid the launch of the boat, it will cost another £1.5 million. This is a large amount of money for a charity-based organisation such as the Rnli to spend. If the Rnli fail to receive an adequate amount of funds, they may become unable to purchase the boats and any other necessary equipment. This means they will have to resort to buying lower tier boats such as D-class boats, which have limited capabilities. This increases the risk of another severe incident. The Rnli will always appreciate brave volunteers to engage in nautical rescue missions, but they will equally appreciate a small donation, as without this, they would be unable to be the high standard saviours of the sea that they are today.